The Tree Who Dreamed of the Sea, a philosophic tale by Lucky Nelson. Chapter 1. In the Forest. Once upon a time there was a tree who began his life at the edge of a fast-flowing river. From the very first instance of his life, he constantly heard the sound of flowing water. And even when he was just a tiny seedling, barely emerging from the ground, he felt the very earth beneath him trembling from the movement of the river. As his roots took hold in the soil and his trunk began to straighten and lift his leaves towards the light, he began to understand the voices around him. "My, you're leafy," they said. "Who?" he asked. "You," they said, "and my, aren't you growing fast? What's the hurry? Do you want to grow taller than the rest of us and steal our sunshine?" "Yes, I want to grow tall," said Leafy. "I'm a tree. I want to be tall, a tall tree and strong so I can see far and wide." The other trees and plants all laughed. "Before you get too tall, you'd better think about what happens to trees that grow so tall," they said. "What?" he asked, but they wouldn't answer. They just laughed. "Keep on growing that way," they said, "and you'll find out soon enough, Leafy." He stretched out his limbs and branches then and felt the hundreds of little leaves blooming on them and said happily, "Yes, I'm Leafy, and watch me grow. I'm not afraid to get tall." He looked up eagerly at the sky and wondered out loud, "When will I be able to catch a cloud?" And he set all his strength and will to growing as fast and tall as he could. But a tree can only grow so fast. Nature has its laws. And so it took patience and so many years. And more patience still, and thus he had plenty of time to listen to the river rushing by, to feel the earth vibrating around his roots day and night, winter as in summer, season after season. The sound of the river never stopped, and one day he wondered, and he asked, not really expecting an answer, "Where are you going in such a hurry?" To his surprise, he heard the river murmur, "To the sea. I'm just flowing to the sea. That's what all rivers do." "What's the sea?" he asked, excited by the very word. "I have no idea," replied the river. "I've never seen the sea. But that's where I'm going. That's where all rivers go." After that, as he grew day by day, he thought more and more of the sea. Now he not only thought of getting tall enough to catch a cloud, he thought of getting tall enough to see the sea. The other trees, who heard his thoughts, laughed and laughed. "You can't get that tall, Leafy," they teased. "There's never been a tree that tall. The sea's too far to see, even if you were as tall as a mountain." And he heard ripples of laughter moving out through the forest as the story spread. "Well, how far is it then?" he asked them. Back came the answer from every side. "Too far. So far you'll never see it." "I will," said Leafy. And he shook his thousands of leaves, for now he had thousands, in anger and in determination, but they only laughed more. Then the tallest tree in the whole forest said, "Young fellow, whatever your name is." "Leafy," said Leafy respectfully. "Yes, well, look at me. I'm hundreds of years old. Even I can't see the sea. You could grow for hundreds of years, even till you were bigger than me, and if I can't see it, how can you hope to?" "I'll see it, and it won't take me hundreds of years," replied Leafy. "I can't wait that long. If I have to, I'll just go there." At that, the old tree laughed so hard that it sounded like thunder in the forest, and a nearby willow smiled so much that he split his bark. Leafy heard laughter all around him, but it didn't bother him, for he was sure that if you want something badly enough, the opinion of others doesn't matter. This time he even heard the river chuckling, so he said, "Go ahead, laugh, run along to the sea, and tell him I'm dreaming of him all the time." "Her," murmured the river. "The sea is a she, not a he. That much I know." "Well, then, tell her I'll come and see her. Tell her I think of nothing else," said Leafy. "Right. When I see her, I'll be sure to tell her. What a tree you are, Leafy." And from then on, the rumble of the river warmed his roots. It reminded Leafy at every moment that the river, which never ceased moving towards the sea, was his bond with her. And he stretched out all his leaves in happiness. "Go," he thought. "Tell her I'll see her one day, someday." And suddenly, the other trees stopped talking to him. They leaned towards each other and agreed in whispers that poor Leafy was crazy. Every sane being knew that trees were born in one spot, where their roots burrowed into the earth, and that they stayed there and grew there until they died. Now that the trees no longer bothered him with their chattering and their advice, Leafy had more time to talk to the birds. Birds and trees are very good friends, of course. The tree gives the birds a place to sit and rest, and in return the birds keep the trees well informed, or try to. The problem, Leafy soon found out, is that you can't always make much sense out of what a bird tells you. For instance, if Leafy asked one bird what color the sea is, he'd get 50 birds shouting out 50 different colors at once. Then they'd start arguing about it among themselves, until it gave Leafy a headache, yet he still had no idea what color she really was. "Maybe every color," he thought to himself, "but how can that be?" An old crow said, "Ask me anything about the sea, Leafy. I've been there at least 50 times. You want to know what it looks like? It's flat." Flat? Leafy couldn't imagine what that looked like. "Not at all," said a magpie. "It's got waves all over it." Then 2 ducks went on about how the sea contained all these good things to eat, and that it was also very comfortable to sit on, and that didn't make things much clearer. One day a petrel told Leafy, "It's vast. That's what the sea is, believe me, Leafy. I've flown all over the globe, and the sea is everywhere. The land you live on, why, it's nothing, just an island in the endless sea. How I love flying over it. And that's good luck, since there isn't much else to fly over." All these descriptions of the sea left Leafy confused, but more than ever convinced that he'd simply have to find out for himself. But when? End of chapter 1. The Tree Who Dreamed of the Sea.